K2 gives you a very small weather window to climb. And if you're not 100% ready as well, then the mountain's going to kill you.
In the Karakoram range of Pakistan, bordering China, stands K2, the world's second highest peak. Altitude is the only category where this impressive mountain does not occupy the absolute number one position. Standing at 8,611 meters, or 28,251 feet, it is widely considered to be the world's most difficult mountain to climb. Climbers regard K2 as the ultimate achievement in mountaineering, and that's for good reason. More people have been to outer space than have stood on the summit of K2. In the 122 years of expeditions, from 1902 to June 2024, less than 400 people have ever reached the summit of this majestic mountain and lived to talk about it. In 2022, K2 passed Annapurna in terms of the fatality rate to claim the title, the world's most deadly mountain. In this two-part mini-series, we will not only provide you with valuable insight into this magnificent mountain, but also take you on an expedition, from the very beginning, all the way up to the summit, and afterward, accompany a superhuman athlete on his descent back to the base camp. Over the years, K2 has earned several nicknames, given by explorers and mountaineers, who had not only reached the location of today's base camp, and looked up toward the towering peak, but also tried to reach the summit. Some of them failed and returned, and some others lost their lives, and remain in memory still on the mountain. And of course, some distinguished climbers eventually managed to accomplish that formidable achievement. The different names and nicknames, surveyors, explorers, and mountaineers called the mountain, reached cult status. Let's have a closer look in chronological order. The Great Trigonometrical Survey of India was a project that aimed to carry out a survey across the Indian subcontinent with scientific precision. It was begun in 1802 and lasted 69 years until completed in 1871. The project also covered the Karakoram range of today's Pakistan. Thomas Montgomery made the first survey of the Karakoram from Mount Haramuk, some 210 kilometers or 130 miles to the south, and sketched the two most prominent peaks, labeling them K1 and K2. Montgomery mistakenly designated the 7,821 meters or 25,660 feet Masherbrum as the highest mountain in Karakoram and named it K1. Masherbrum is as the crow flies, only 20.2 miles or 32.5 kilometers away from K2. However, trekking between the two mountains requires several days, on rugged terrain on the surface of the Baltoro Glacier, in close vicinity of three other 8,000-meter peaks, namely, Gasherbrum 1, Broad Peak, and Gasherbrum 2. Worth mentioning as a side note is the Peak 15 in the Himalayas. Geographer Sir George Everest was Surveyor General of India, and he was in charge of this mega surveying project between 1830 and 1843. In 1865, the Royal Geographical Society renamed Peak 15, which was at the time only recently identified as the world's highest peak, to Mount Everest in his honor. K2 earned the name, the Impossible Mountain, after an Italian expedition in 1909, led by Prince Luigi Amadeo, Duke of the Abruzzi. The Duke's team reached an elevation of around 6,250 meters or 20,510 feet on the southeast spur, but due to the route's steepness and difficulty, they decided to abandon the attempt. After trying and failing to find a feasible alternative route on the West Ridge and the Northeast Ridge, the Duke declared that K2 would never be climbed. Ironically, the southeast spur, better known as the Abruzzi Spur, named after the Duke of Abruzzi, has been for years K2's most popular route to the summit, with 75% of climbers tackling this pass. Another famous nickname, The Savage Mountain, was given after an interview by George Irving Bell, who was one of the climbers on the 1953 American Karakoram expedition. Bell told